I was in the process of creating a video where I discussed what I thought was the fatal flaw in the Creation Club. The one thing that to me was going to guarantee that this new system of theirs was going to fail, that it was literally dead on arrival. No, I don't mean it was going to kill modding. I've actually made a video where I discuss the death of modding, and I'll link that down below if you want to go and check that out. I mean the Creation Club itself pretty much, to me, didn't seem to have much of a life. It really did look like it was going to fail quite epically. Now, I am still going to make the video discussing the fatal flaw in the Creation Club. However, some new technical issues have been brought to my attention, and if they turn out to be true, they are a major problem, not just for people who might have been interested in the Creation Club, but for people who want to play Fallout 4. These technical issues are actually going to be ranging from annoying to actually being a bit of a deal breaker, I think. The first problem I was made aware of is the fact that the game seems to download all of the Creation Club content regardless of whether or not you're using it, whether or not you've bought it. It downloaded all of these BA2 files. For those of you that don't know, BA2 files are the archives that contain all of the resources, the scripts, the models and the textures, and these are traditionally the largest part of a mod or a DLC. They are pretty much always massive compared to the plugins or the master files, and these are going to be no exception. They're not actually all that big. These are some fairly small items, and yet they still combine together for 681 megabytes. That doesn't sound too bad, but imagine they have 10 times as many items in the Creation Club. Now suddenly it's an extra 6 gigabytes. Imagine they have 100 times more items, and that's not unreasonable. That's not even remotely unreasonable. They've only got, I think it's 13 items, and let's face it, 4 of them are the same item, just a slightly different colour. That's going to be like 1,000 things on the Creation Club. 1,000 things. That is nothing. Go and look at Nexus Mods to see how many mods have been uploaded there. 1,000 things on the Creation Club, assuming they're no bigger than the small items they've already shown us, is still going to add 60 gigabytes approximately to your download, whether you want it or not. I mean, even for PC users who can upgrade their system, that's a lot of SSD for something they don't need. I can only imagine how annoying that's going to be on consoles. I mean, if you've got a 500 gigabyte console and you've got Skyrim and Fallout 4 on it, you've suddenly got an extra 120 gigabytes taken up. And again, that's assuming they cap the content that they're going to allow on the Creation Club. They're only going to allow a certain number of items, because obviously if they just keep uploading to it, it's going to get bigger and bigger. And God only knows what would happen if you had content like SMIM, the one that overhauls all the meshes, or the HD texture overhauls, the audio overhauls, things like that. Things that actually generally come with some pretty big files. Think of things like immersive armors, that sort of thing. Those are large. If many of those get added to the Creation Club, you're all going to download it. It could end up being the case where you can barely have more than 1 or 2 games on your console. Not only are people going to be objecting to their hard drive filling up, they're going to object to the internet usage if they pay for it or if they're on a slow download. And just in general, this is a terrible way to do things. Now, of course, it might just be a mistake, but one theory is that this is a way to get round the loose file limit on consoles. For something like the Xbox, I believe you can only have up to 2 gigabytes of loose files alongside the game. So all of these files are being shipped with the main game to bypass that, because obviously 2 gigabytes, there's not actually a lot you can do with 2 gigabytes. So they've bypassed it. But that's a terrible reason. This is a terrible solution to that problem if that's the case. they should really be talking to the console manufacturers and saying, look, you need to change something. The times are changing. Sort yourself out. Not, okay, let's just assume everybody out there has a couple of spare 2TB SSDs on them, or that the average Xbox user doesn't mind upgrading his 500GB to a 2TB drive. This just seems, well, really bad. And then you should also imagine every time a new item gets added to the Creation Club, and I'm assuming they want to add these things relatively frequently, otherwise what's the point? You're going to have an update. Your system's going to update again. You're going to be constantly turning your Xbox on or your PC on, starting up Fallout 4 and saying, downloading update, please wait, or something. It's going to get unbelievably annoying. But that brings up another issue. I've been told that, and I've been told by people I actually rely on for information, these are guys who know way more about modding and how the game works than I do, that each time new content is added and downloaded, the executables are changed. So that's going to happen very frequently. Now, that might not sound like a big problem to console users, and it probably isn't beyond the fact that you're updating every day. But for PC users, some of you have probably already figured it out, that's going to make the script extender pretty difficult to use, because every time the executables get updated, the script extender needs to be updated as well. And, you know, I mean, if they're only updating it once a month, maybe it's not so bad. But if they're doing it a couple of times a week or even daily, that's going to make the script extender pretty much unusable. And what's going to happen is PC users are going to disable updates. Definitely. We're going to update, because here's the thing, right? I can live without the Creation Club. In fact, I probably would rather live without the Creation Club. I'm not living without the script extenders. I know that sounds a little dramatic. I'm not playing Fallout 4 or Skyrim without the script extenders. I'm just not doing it. So I would end up stopping the updates and never updating my game again unless I knew for an absolute fact that SKSE or F4SE had updated, and then I'd be very careful when I updated. I'd be really paranoid about it actually. I'd be taking backups before I did any of this stuff. This would mean I'd never even have the temptation to use the Content Club because I wouldn't have access to it, and that just seems daft. This seems really ill thought out, if thought out at all. This seems to be something dreamed up by someone who really has not considered the ramifications of what will happen when they implement it. Having all of these files download, did nobody sort of put their hand up in one of the meetings and say, have you any idea how large those files are going to be after a couple of months? If we're successful. I mean, that's if the Creation Club is successful and it gets lots of content, everyone's hard drive is going to be clogged up. So the only way this is not going to be a problem is if the Creation Club fails, which I personally think it will in its current form. If the content I've seen is any indication, I think it's dead in the water. But if Bethesda actually want to succeed, they really have to at least start with these technical issues. You cannot force people to download downloadable content they don't want unless you're severely restricting the amount of content that's going to be available. And if you're going to do that, you shouldn't be shipping things like the odd piece of power armor and a Pip-Boy retexture. If you've got to limit it to a certain size, you should save space for stuff that's actually going to be worth buying. However, that's beginning to tread on the content of the next video, where I discuss why I think the Creation Club is really a bit of an epic fail in its current state. And hopefully I will get that out reasonably soon. So there you go. Technical issues with the Creation Club, not with the club itself, but with the game. Technical issues forced onto the game and the game owners because of the Creation Club. I guarantee, Bethesda, that is not going to be popular. In fact, I can guarantee it's going to cause an absolute manure storm, and it's a well-deserved one. I'm the first person to say that, people tend to overreact. People are talking about the death of modding and all that. And no, this is not the death of modding. But it's a real, it's not the death of modding, but it's a bit of a natural disaster for Fallout 4 itself. Not the modding scene, but for the game. Your new system is damaging your game. And I said, this is not the death of modding. Maybe I should have actually caveated that and said, this is not the death of modding, but it may be the death of Fallout 4. Honestly, I'm going to end up disabling updates if this is how it is. I'm going to disable them, so I won't even see the Creation Club. I can't do that on my Xbox. And that means I'm going to have to uninstall the game from my Xbox. Now, I probably should have done that anyway. I don't play it on the Xbox. I just use it to test mods. But I won't even be doing that anymore, because I need the space for other things. My kids use that. So, just all round, epic fail.